Very good afternoon. You're watching NewsX at 1:30 with me, and I'm Akshay Tandon. As Prime Minister Modi embarks on his Israel visit, it will be the first visit to Israel by any Indian Prime Minister. Prime Minister Modi will be accompanied by Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel throughout his two-day visit there. It's a rare gesture accorded usually to US presidents and the Pope during their visits to Israel. But Israel is planning to make this visit special for Indian Prime Minister as the red carpet is being rolled out. Prime Minister Modi, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are expected to sign key deals on defense, water management, trade, and also talk about cooperation on cyber security. Prime Minister Modi is also expected to have a meeting with 26/11 terror attack survivor Baby Moshe, who was rescued from the Jewish Chabbad House in Mumbai. Let's go across to Sharon Udaisin, correspondent from Jerusalem Post, joining us live from Israel on this broadcast. Good morning, Sharon. It's a big day that's lined up in front of India as well as Israel as the red carpet is being rolled out for Prime Minister Modi's welcome there in Israel.
Yes, it's a very big day here. There's much anticipation among everyone from all sides, we see.
Sharon, explain to us of how the day will look like once the Prime Minister lands into Israel. It will be early evening at about, if I'm not wrong, 4 p.m. What does the evening look like?
I'm actually not familiar with the exact details of his schedule. I specialize on technology and economic relations.
Okay.
So, if possible, I would prefer to talk about that and
sure.
the potential that we have here from an economic standpoint. I just would like to say that in the past 25 years, trade between the countries has climbed about 2,000%, and I think that this visit is very symbolic, and we will only see these trade figures rise even more. We've gone from 200 million in 1992 to 4.167 billion in 2016, and I think that we see these friendly relations coming together even more, and we're just going to keep seeing more import and export in both directions, especially in agriculture and water.
Especially in agriculture and water. Sharon, can you also give us further details on what sort of agreements are expected to sign? Because on an occasion like that, when two countries are engaging in bilaterals, a lot of homework is already done between two nations. So what are we expected to see? Because we understand how agriculture, defense, water management, these, I believe, are the key agendas where these two prime ministers will be sitting across the table and thrashing them out.
As I said, I can only comment on the areas in which I cover, but there is a lot of anticipation specifically around maybe whether there would be like an agricultural financing agreement. I'm not sure if it will actually occur, but this is something that different people from the private sector have spoken to me about. There's also actually a number, even not on a government-to-government level, there's a number of business-to-business agreements happening. One that I know about already this afternoon, which I'm not yet allowed to speak about, but a very huge one, because there's an entire business delegation traveling with the Prime Minister, and so there's going to be several different business-to-business agreements between Israeli and Indian companies, and I think those are really important, if not equally, maybe even more important than government-to-government agreements, because the private sector is really what's driving the relationship, in my opinion.
Okay. We also believe that the Prime Minister is going to be meeting with a lot of CEOs, and that, of course, will be his way of communicating to them how the Prime Minister of India has been advocating world over of make in India, invest in India, and one would imagine that's something he'll be addressing with the diaspora there as well. Can you share some more details of that meeting, please, Sharon?
Well, there are going to be a lot of meetings, I know, with several companies from the water sector. There's going to be, on Thursday, a visit to a mobile desalination plant in Israel, and desalination is obviously a tool that Israel excels really well in, and something that India could further benefit from. There's going to be also, actually, there's a parallel delegation of Indian Americans here right now as well, who are also trying to take part in some business arrangements with the Indian business delegation and with Israeli startups here. There's aerospace sector, there's medical sector, really you name it, there's going to be a lot of collaborating going on.
Exactly, a lot of sharing of technology between India and Israel, a lot to learn from the innovative ways that Israel has been upping its technology. But Sharon, we've seen a decline in trade between 2012 and 2016 between India and Israel. Correct me if I'm wrong, since that's your expertise. There has been a decline of close to 18%, and Israel is 38th largest trading partner of India. How do you see these two countries engaging with each other and bridging the deficit over there?
Okay, well, I think the problem is with these numbers. Yes, there might have been a bit of a decline, but those percentages don't take into account high-tech and actual intellectual exchange, and that is constantly on the rise between India and Israel, and those are things that can't be exactly quantified in trade percentages, but they're really important. And if we were able to qualify the number of academic exchanges, intellectual exchanges, partnerships on a high-tech level, then I think we would actually see a rise, because that's really the future here of the relationship.
All right, Sharon, it's been nice speaking to you. We'd like to connect with you again when the Prime Minister does land, and all that's expected between India and Israel, especially where the trade front is concerned. Thank you very much for joining us live right now. And we have some breaking reactions coming in right now. We'll take a listen into how the Congress is reacting, the Congress party back at home on Prime Minister Modi's visit to Israel. Let's take a listen in.
We are joined by former Union Minister Mr. Salman Khurshid. Sir, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Israel, do you feel it is a departure from the policy which India has been following since decades? Of course, the first time an Indian Prime Minister would be visiting Israel.
Well, without any ado, I can say that it's a departure. It's a fact that it's a departure. Whether it's a departure that is correct or not, it's for the Prime Minister and the government to reflect upon. They don't share with the country, and they don't share with the opposition in Parliament or otherwise as to why they're doing a particular thing, which is really inconsistent with democracy, not to share with the opposition, particularly if it's an opposition that has been in government itself and has formulated policies that you're now departing from. So there's a question there, but having said that, it's also correct and right that in changed circumstances you have to innovate and you have to change yourself as well. But I wish he had shared this with the country. The other problem, of course, is that when you go to Israel, you have to be clear about what your position is on Palestine. You can't be ambiguous. There are big issues about Palestine. Even Israel's closest ally, that's the United States of America, has issues on Palestine. And certainly during President Obama's tenure, there were some major issues about settlements and about the overall structure of peace between Israel and Palestine. And I think India is a little bit ambiguous now, and that's not a good thing.
Sir, also there would be talks on defense deals and several other cyber cooperation measures between the two heads of state. Also, Israel is rolling out a red carpet. Sir, do you feel by not visiting Palestine or by such red carpet being rolled out by Israel, India is, as you said, there is a certain degree of ambiguity as far as India-Palestine relations are concerned?
Well, yes, and it's for Palestine also to take a view. They have visited us. The head of the Palestinian state was here and must have had talks with the Prime Minister. I hope that the Prime Minister shared what his future intentions were with the head of Palestinian Authority. But these things will become apparent once the visit goes through. We don't want to be spoilers for a Prime Minister's visit, so I don't think we should comment any further on this. Let's see when he returns, as is the convention. When you return from a visit, you are supposed to share with Parliament exactly the contours of that particular visit. and then take things further. So let's wait and see what he will say to Parliament.
So one final question with respect to cyber security and other defense deals. As you said, that due to certain changing circumstances, countries require to adapt themselves. So how do you look at India-Israel cooperation in the long run?
Well, it's not a cooperation that I can deny has consistently grown. It started in earlier times. It continued during our times, particularly the issue of supply of equipment, defense equipment. Also the collaboration and cooperation we've had on drip irrigation, for instance, etc. But it must not be at the cost of our very principled position on Palestine. I mean, that's the important thing. Now, can the Prime Minister walk the razor's edge carefully and not tilt on either side is a big question. Let's see what happens.
So that's Mr. Salman Khurshid clearly stating that the PM's visit to Israel is akin to wire walking, and the government requires to put forth its position extremely clear as far as Palestine is concerned. In Delhi with video journalist Kapil, this is Abhimanyu Sharma for NewsX.